What's up, everybody? Man, this is Expert Mentors Live, episode 61. I'm John Kitchens, and man, super excited for today's episode. We've got Mr. Curt Shewell on, and man, we're going to talk the ideal lead flow process to set qualified appointments. Always answer some questions from the Q&A and chat. So if you got any questions for us, be sure to throw it in there. And I'm sure we'll dive into other things as well. So Curt, say hello to the Honey Badger Nation and let them know what we're about to dive into.
Honey Badger Nation, welcome, and thanks for having me on, John. You're a great guy, and I'm just honored to be on the show with you today and talking to everybody. So Honey Badger Nation, I know we know a lot of each other, but for those who don't, I'm Curt Shewell, and today we're going to talk about the lead flow process. So when you're prospecting, what should you expect? What does it take to get people to actually go from a lead into a real prospect into somebody that you're actually working with and that's actually buying with you or selling with you? So we're going to go through some of that stuff and what we do.
I love it. I love it, man. Let's dive in. I don't know if you want to take them through like the linear process or give some some context and then dive in, or I'll let you take the ball and run with it.
All right. Let's see if we can get at least across the 50. We'll go from there. Right, get on the other side of the field, so we can play downhill. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that fallacies that agents think that, our lead's good or our lead's not good. What's a good lead? What's a bad lead? And I run into that even with our own team all the time. I've got 30 some agents and in our team, and we've got almost 300 in our EXP family expanded team. So when I'm talking to either team, the group or our team as a whole, they say, oh, well, those are the bad leads. I want the good leads. And, I kind of joke, and I make all of them watch Glenn Ross, right? They want the Glenn
that's right. That's my mind always goes there.
Right, it has to, right? Because the good leads, coffee's for closers. And believe it or not, in our office, even on our coffee machine, it says coffee is for closers. Watch Glenn Gary, which leads are the good leads. And in doing so, what we find is it's not about the lead being good or bad. All the leads are good. Any lead's a good lead. It's an opportunity, right? So the problem is when they don't answer, when we call them, that was a bad lead because they didn't answer. Well, no, of course they didn't answer. Did they know you were calling them at that time? No. Did you have an appointment set up yet? No. And the point is, and I get the pushback, well, Curt, no, that's the point. We're trying to make appointments. I get it. So remember, first of all, you have to contact them, right? 7 times typically before you'll get an actual first contact. So 7 times you're reaching out to them. And what we do is on the first day, I make our agents do the rule of 5. So 5 times you reach out and try to contact them day 1. So that's on the first day. And then they all look at me like I've got 3 eyes and like, what are you, crazy? 5 times in a day? And the answer is yes. And the reason for it is you're going to do 2 phone calls, 2 texts, and 1 email. A couple just, like you said, in linear fashion, just as far as understanding the breakdown, we know that only 15% of the emails actually ever get read. So now that's become, which used to be the number 1 form of communication, has become actually 3rd best. Talking direct is now number 2. Texting is number 1. So what we make our agents do is you make the phone call, the initial phone call, and you leave a message. Hey, it's Curt Shewell, just reaching out to you. Wanted to make sure that I followed up. I know you had some interest in maybe looking at buying or selling a house. I just wanted to touch base with you and find out what the best time was to reach you. So it's actually like an ask in the voicemail to where some people feel compelled to reply to that. Then you immediately follow it up with a text message, and the text message says essentially the same thing. Hey, I left you a voicemail. I gave you a call. Just wanted to reach out to you so I could get together with you to talk about buying and selling homes. What makes sense for you? What's the best time? Please let me know what the best time to reach you. See if they reply or not. And then immediately following, so this is again in the first minute of that lead, you've called them, you've texted them, then you send your form standard email that you've already got templated out, just like the email, just like the text message. It's already templated out, so you just copy, paste, and send it. So it's a really quick process, and the email says essentially the same thing. Hey, don't know what the best form of communication is for you. That's what the email says. I did call, I sent you a text. Here's an email. I don't know if you're working or not, or if you're able to reply or not. So here's what we're going with. So you send that out, and you do that typically in the morning. And then we try one late in either late afternoon or early evening. So you kind of catch them maybe on drive time or right after work. And that way sometimes they can take the call better then, or they can reply to your text emails and such. So then the second time you reach out is a second phone call. And that one has a voicemail too. Hey, called you earlier this morning, just trying to find the best time. I think I shot you a text, and I might have even sent you an email, kind of play it off that way. trying to figure out what's best for you, let me know. And then I'll send you another text too. And you say that on the voicemail. And then you follow it immediately with the text again that says, hey, tried you this morning, didn't know if the evenings are better for you. Please tell me what the best time is. And typically you'll get a response by the time you do that from them, because even that night, they'll reply to you, hey, best time for me is, really early mornings or late afternoons or whatever the time it is for them. That's the best way we find to actually get a response. And that's 5 of the 7. We know it takes up to 7 times to get them. So second day, we call them once, and I typically tell them, don't leave a message because you've already left them 2 plus the text. So you call one time the next day, and then on the third day, you shoot them a text. And that's your first 7 touches. Now, there are people that argue with me, no, Curt, you got to do 15 in the first day, second day, third. That's how we do it. We've had a lot of success with it. And they tend to respond or reply to you. And that's what we do. The second piece, when you go further in, is once they reply to you, doesn't mean you've turned them into a prospect yet. You've only got contact. So number 1 step, and I think we get caught up. Everybody's thinking, I'm going to call them, I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to close them over the phone. Well, that's not going to happen, right? The first thing all you're trying to do is make contact. So make sure your system is set up where I'm just contacting them. Step 1. Step 2, right? The romance phase, right? Now we've contacted each other. Now I know the best form of communication for them. I know what they want, how they want it. And then the next step is where we actually sit down and we start talking in dialogue, right? So that's where you've got to know your scripts. You've got to know your dialogues. And I know this show isn't about the scripts and dialogues, or even your objection handlers, but you've got to have a couple of objection handlers ready to go right off the gate, because when you get out of the gate, they start pushing back on you about why they can or can't talk and what they're looking for. So you've got to be able to just remember, reel them into an appointment, because that's all you're trying to set is an appointment. Everybody does the same thing again. No. We finally talked to them. It took me 3 days, 6 days, 1 day, whatever. And now they're trying to close them. You're not going to close them on the phone. That's what face-to-face is.
Yeah, right? You got to do it. I love it. So I'm going to unpack just a few things here. A lot of great nuggets right out of the gate. And I love leaving the message. And the reason is that I don't answer my phone. Like, I do not answer my phone. I will not answer my phone. There's like 3 people on the planet that when they call, I will answer my phone for. Right. And so, leave a message. All of mine are transcribed. I mean, it's just they're all transcribed anyways with the technology. So you don't even have to listen to it. You can just read and see what it is. And, I love the text. And, when Holly was getting into real estate, she doesn't like talking on the phone. I mean, but she's in that age demographic to where she ain't going to talk on the phone if she don't have to.
They don't.
And so, but like she would just immediately, a lead come in, she would start texting it. And I'm just watching, right? Observing. And then, she's just getting engagement, getting contacts. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, that's really powerful. So I love that. I love leaving the messages. I mean, everything you're saying is ringing true for like how people respond, how people engage in how we communicate today. So,
right.
Are you doing anything? Are you guys doing anything trying to find them on Facebook, hitting them on Messenger, anything, Instagram, going social media? Or are you just staying?
Are you looking at my notes? Yeah, because our steps, right? Those are the first 5 contacts, and we say we have to do 7. So 6 is stalk them, right? Get on Facebook, find them on Facebook or Instagram, whichever one's going to be the one that you see them mostly posting and such on. So when you find them there, send them a message in there. Hey, how's it going? Private message them, so that way it's not a public forum where they're like, oh my God, I didn't want everybody to know I'm looking at selling my house or something. Yeah, you got to respect their privacy. Right? Because remember, people buy from people they know, they like, they trust. We all know that one. But when you're establishing credibility, that is establishing trust for them, you've got to start off somewhere. So when just the smallest little play like that, and you tell them, right? Speak the obvious. Sometimes we forget the obvious things. Tell them, listen, I wanted to private message you. I didn't want to go public because I didn't know if anybody knows you're looking at houses these days.
Oh, I love that.
And they'll respect that. So you're gaining trust with them right out of the gate as a stranger. And now they feel like they know you a little bit better because they can feel that they trust you. So credibility is something that we work really hard at making sure we're establishing through the entire process.
I would say another key point here. You're going to be engaging them on social media. You better have your social media cleaned up. You better be mindful, because man, they're going to stalk you, right? They're going to be like, man, who is this character reaching out to me? And so you better have your profiles on point. You better be not, be careful what you post, be mindful. You have to adopt the mindset that whatever you type, whatever you say, whatever you do is being documented in a way that somebody can find it. And it's just the direction where everything's moving. So if you go that route, which that's why I was asking, I'm glad you said it was one of the points, is
Sure.
that you better have your stuff dialed in. It better be on point. You better have a good profile picture. You better have a good bio. I mean, that stuff is really, really important, guys. And what happens when somebody Googles you? What comes up? That's important, right? That's how us as consumers are searching and seeing out who's this shady character that's reaching out to me here. And it's important to think through that stuff, guys.
No, it's a great point, John, because they're looking at you, and as much as we say we're a non-judgmental, society today, I think we're more judgmental than ever before. We look at somebody and we make our decisions based on what we see. And what are we seeing? We're seeing a profile picture. We're seeing, like you said, the photos that we put up there. We're seeing the posts that we say, are we ultra this way or ultra that way? You have to be extremely mindful of what the person across, right? What do we teach in sales? As trainers and coaches like yourself and myself, we teach our agents constantly, right? Mirror and match them. Well, think about that. So on your social media, are you mirroring, matching them? Because you need to be vanilla, right? Not vanilla ice, but vanilla. So you gotta be vanilla.
I can relate to that one. I know that one.
Yeah. All right. For the younger crowd, little 80s rapper kind of guy that, Anyway, so the thing with that is you have to appeal to everyone. And then once you meet them, once you've contacted, and then you start your dialogue with them, then you can start to get a feel for, am I their kind of person? Because you should be mirroring, matching them. So when you talk to them, right?
You said earlier too, you said it's kind of the romancing phase, right? It's like we're about to romance, we're about to set the date, right? And it's not a, hey, let's get married right out of the gate.
Right. You can't.
Let's go through that process.
Yeah, you got to get to it. You got to earn it. So think of it that way. Have I earned that yet? So contact is first point. After you've made the contact, you're good. And remember this. So let's say we made our contact within those first seven steps, right? Of 7 reaches out for our contact. So if we've done that, we know also before they say yes to an appointment, though you might get them the first time, they're going to expect 7 more or 8 more because it's 15 contact points. Now that's back and forth. So it could be another 3 or 4 you reaching out to them, 3 or 4 of them getting back to you. So as that dialogue goes, if your dialogue has got up to 15 contacts back and forth, you've got it. They're going to meet with you, or you've already set that up, but now they're thinking in their head, we are working or going to work with you. Think of it that way. It's 15.
15. I love that. And here's a side note. I know we're talking about process. I mean, this process applies to anything, right? We can apply it to dating. We can apply it, but even to recruiting. And this is one of the things that I see where most people get tripped up is that they don't understand the number of contacts, engagements, meaningful engagements that have to happen before somebody is like thinking about uprooting where they're at and making a move to join you. And people get frustrated after the first 2 or 3 and they're like, why haven't they moved yet? Because you haven't had enough. You haven't dated enough.
You haven't earned it. Right. You haven't dated enough. You haven't earned it. You got to earn it.
I love that. So before we kind of move on, one thing, how much of a focus do you guys put on speed of response?
Okay, we're heavy on it big time, right?
Okay.
So because in our office, on our team, we buy a lot of leads. So we spend a lot of money. We do marketing on TV. We kind of joke about it, we're the, end all be all for the marketing piece. We are marketing on TV right now. We're on the radio right now on 3 different stations. We're on billboards on every major expressway in Metro. We're in the Metro Detroit area, by the way. So we've got all the major expressways covered with billboard signs as well. And then our mass media, right? Our social media presence that we put out and we're constantly reaching. So when you spend a lot of money on that and then you do your Zillow buys and you do your Trulia buys and Realtor.com buys, and when you're doing all that, you're spending a lot of money to get these leads coming in.
You guys are a fascinating case study. I mean, because you guys do everything, right? But I want everybody to understand, Mark just didn't, open the checkbook and go all in on everything. Right.
You got to earn up and work up to that. Yeah.
Earned it. Man, I love that ring, right? He earned it. He earned the ability to be able to go up to the next notch. So, and just so you guys know, everything that Curt just shared, all that stuff works. If you understand it, and if you understand how to go all in on it. And I think that's the one thing is where people want to dabble, they want to put their toe over here a little bit, and they don't understand that you've got to go all in on those different outlets.
Kind of touch on that, like you're saying. I've had other teams because in Metro Detroit, we've now become the #1 Zillow spend, right? We spend 34.5. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. The world
it's out there.
We spend 34.5 on our Zillow spend.
Yeehaw!
So we're #1 in Metro Detroit. And what it does is it makes sure that we're either #1 or #2 in all the areas that we're in. So we pop up constantly. So we're getting our presence. And it works for us. But it's like you said, when Mark was only buying a little bit of this and a little bit of Realtor.com and a little here, a little here, it never really genuinely worked really well. And the reason for it was, it's what we said at the very beginning. Oh, these are bad leads. We didn't get the good ones. Why aren't we getting the Glengarry leads? Well, we did. We just didn't follow up. It wasn't, the speed to lead was a big component. We weren't quick on it. We'd get the lead in, we'd disseminate them out to everybody. So once we disseminated the leads, everybody says, okay, great, I'll call them. Well, I'm tied up now, I'll call them in an hour. It's too late, we already missed it. Somebody else already got it. So when it came time to that, we realized once the calls come in, the leads come in, we have to be on that. So when we changed our floor time, we structured it based around all the calls. So we do the 2-hour blocks. So there's a whole process to that. And if you want to have success in it, like you said, you got to go all in. Either you're in or you're not. Spend the money or don't. Whatever you want's fine. But if you're going to spend it, make sure that you're backing it up with all the support systems, the processes, and everything in place. Our systems are phenomenal. It's a matter of, do we follow the process? So when we follow the process through, we have great results. When we don't, that's when we miss.
I love it. I love it. So cool. So we're romancing, we're earning the opportunity. We're having contacts, we've engaged back and forth. Are we getting face-to-face yet? Are we at that point?
At this point, once you've had that 5th to 7th contact, you should have set the appointment. So, yes. So you set an appointment. However, this is where a lot of people fail, and we see it in ourselves too. We get them to say, okay, great. They took our contact, they called us back, or they answered the phone or whatever have you. Now we've had some conversation. We set an appointment right away, because that's all we're trying to do is set that appointment. And what happens is some of them right away will say, yep, I'm interested. So yeah, let's meet. Well, you still don't have any of the information that you really need to be able to close them when you get there. So what happens is you go out and you're kind of, we say you're going out naked. You don't have anything with you to really bring all the tools that you need in your toolbox. So you kind of start winging it when you're there of, where am I going with these people? You should have already had that dialed down. That's part of the 15 touch points. If you've touched them 15 times in dialogue back and forth, could be 7 or 8, whatever side you're on. But if you've done that, then you've asked all the right questions. And that's the next piece, right? There's questions, and asking questions shows that you care, shows that it's about them. You're not making it about you. It's definitely about them. They respect the fact you're asking questions, so it shows intent and that you care. So you're getting that with them. The problem is are you asking the right questions now? So the right questions are the questions that in a perfect world, you could ask them and get all the information you want, right? Because we say it all the time. Anything they say can and will be used against them in the court of closing. I'm going to close them with their words, not mine, with theirs, because they're giving all the information.
Yeah. So
if you're not asking the right questions to them prior to going out, then you're going out naked. You're not armed. So you got.
Is that really so? It's the kind of where, hey, we're setting the date now. We're trying to qualify the date just to make sure
that's what you're doing. Once they've said yes to the date, we've been taught, right? ABC, always be closing. Once they say yes, shut up and you're done. Okay, agreed. But then the follow-up is, hey, I'm looking forward to, this is your confirmation of your appointment. Hey, we set up our appointment yesterday for Tuesday. I'm looking forward to meeting you Tuesday and tomorrow or in 2 days or whatever that gap is. Looking forward to that. But I had a couple questions for you real quick. Do you have a sec? Because I wanted to make sure that I came with everything you needed, right? So they put it on them. Then they always reply back to you then, oh yeah, sure, looking forward to Tuesday too. Sure, what do you need? And then you get a chance to say, okay, great. Can I ask you just a few, it's always, just a couple questions. Kind of like Columbo for all you old people. There's a TV show Columbo. I just have one more question, just one more question. And you have like 30. right?
Yeah.
There's always one more question. So the same thing, we play Columbo. It's, you know, if I could just ask you one or two more things real quick, if you don't mind, if you have a second, right? You say, hey, you got an hour so I can go ask you everything under the sun. They're going to say no, right? You're turning them off. So it's, can I just ask you a couple quick questions? And some of them, again, we've established the communication, maybe email, maybe text, maybe phone, whatever's good for them. That's what you're going to do. And then have your questions ready. It's okay. Just a couple quick questions and ask the really pertinent ones that you really, really want the information on. And the key to this, do not let them avoid the question and continually looping back. Loop until you get the answer. Do not stop till you get your answer.
I love it. And so you're really dialing in there. You said through their preferred method of communication is how you're trying to gather that.
Mm-hmm. That's why they're going to give you what you want. You're playing on their terms, but you're running the game.
Gotcha. I love that. And now we're at this transition. And one of the things that I see, and I would love to get your take and some of the best practices to close the gap, is the set to met ratio, right? You know, especially working with buyers that you haven't earned it, right? You haven't built any trust. Right. What are you guys doing at that point to build that trust to really make sure that we've got a strong set to met ratio?
I think what we find is it's in the part of asking the right question. When you go through your questions, and we have them listed out for our agents. We have what we call our top 10. There's really only 9, so we probably should call it our top 9, but nobody likes the top 9. Everybody likes the top 10.
Well, top 10.
It's our top 10 questions. There's only 9 of them. But one of the first ones we ask them is, you know, painting a scenario, because they give you half the answers in it. If you ask them a pertinent question, right? If they're looking to buy a house, you need to be asking, the first question really you should be asking them is, where do you live now? Right? Because if they're living in a place that's $100,000 homes that they're going to be moving out of, and they tell you they're looking in an area for $500,000 homes, you might need to ask a few more questions here to see, wait a minute, are we in the same ballpark here? What are we thinking? Did you get an inheritance? Did you win the lotto? What happened? On the flip side, if they're on the sell side, you need to be asking them, in a perfect world, right? What would you be wanting to get out of this house that would help you move forward buying the one that you really want? If you could have anything you wanted, what would that be? And you'll be shocked if they don't go, well, I want $1 million. They don't do that. They get serious, because if you're serious, they're serious. And then that takes you to the level where you can really be honest with them, just asking good questions, because they're going to give you all that information. Now your net becomes much higher, because again, you're going in with all the answers, right? One good friend of mine always says to me all the time, Curt, it's always best if you know the answers to the test. So if you go in there with the answers to the test, you're going to pass the test.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So really focusing on those questions. Are you guys sending anything to kind of get them familiar with who you guys are? I mean, I know you have a strong brand, right? Presence. I mean, so you guys have a little bit of an advantage, but what would you say for somebody that doesn't have, you know, the horsepower of a Mark Z brand behind them?
You know, it's funny, and I'm glad you asked that. Yesterday in our office, we did a training. It's a double your business training. So locally, any agent, I don't care what, you know, who they work for. They don't have to work for, you know, EXP. They don't have to be part of our team. They don't have to be part of anything. They were all welcome. We had almost 40 agents show up yesterday, which was really cool. And they came in and it was all about branding. So to your question, you know, how important is the brand? We spend a fortune to get our brand out there to make sure we're generating all these leads and such. And that's one way to do it, right? Buy it, spend the money, earn it. Well, at the same time, our brand is that important to us. So we sell the brand part. The great part is, and I don't want to get into an EXP pitch, but the thing that we found when we became EXP, our brand was strong enough to be on its own locally. We didn't need any brokerage or any big box name. The thing that it did for us was now we collaborate with all the other top agents who are all in the teams that are local here that are EXP. Now our power is immense. So our brand becomes tagged to each other. You know, we're all part of that same thing. So we can sell the brand. So even though you're not necessarily us who spent all that money to brand ourselves, GoGo Bethke is part of our team. If you Google her, you can do, you know, GoGo Bethke, you know, or GoGo Real Estate. When you do that, she doesn't spend any money, $0, but her branding is so strong, right? $0 spent. Her branding is extremely powerful. And she did, you know, 40, 50 transactions last year, strictly without spending a dime, just on her social media presence and how she advertises and markets there. But she sells her brand hard. So you've got to sell your brand. Yes,
I love that.
Huge part of it. So
she did episode 51. So for you guys tuning in, if you didn't catch the episode with go check it out. Episode 51, and she really breaks down everything Kurt's talking about. So cool. So and I get excuse me, I guess that ties right back to what we were talking about earlier, making sure that you've got your social media profile and everything dialed in, because those people are going to go check you out, right? Should I be meeting with this character? So that will help.
The other brokers, the other teams out there, like you're saying, when you're just looking at who's who in the business and in the industry, we've been able to take, a Michelle Sayward team locally here. She was doing about $30 million by herself. Well, in 1 year's time, she's about to be her 12 months. This is, I think, her 12th month. And in 11 months' time, she's doubled her business.
That's amazing, man. That's
just
awesome.
By being part of our collaborative. And what a difference it made. I mean, we upped her. She was in office with 2 people. Now she's got an office of 12. Not that she wants a whole ton of people, but what it's done is it's completely taken her to a whole nother level and risen her up by using the collaboration of how all that works. It's real powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. So we've done our work. We're prepared. I love that little nugget. Hopefully you guys caught that. Just want to make sure that I have everything that you needed, right? Really just what is it that you need? And asking the right questions. And so we're there right now. Are we at that point to where, hey, we're actually getting face-to-face?
Yeah. So now when you go out face-to-face, what we tell them, all right, you got your appointment set. You should have all the answers to the test. You should know exactly the path that you're really going to take them. But again, it's not about you taking the path. And this is, again, where agents make the biggest mistake. They go out and they start telling them. Remember, it's never you telling them. It's you asking them, and then they tell you exactly what you wanted. But you're asking them. And I can give you some for instances. Or
sure. Yeah, let's do that. I think that'd be super helpful.
So when you do that, for an example, when you first get there, you can say, okay, hey, based on our information, and have a notepad or a checklist or have something with you that shows that you've done your homework. You have the notes, right? That you've been listening to them, that you really took them serious. Because again, this is the point where we want them to be the most serious with us, right? This is the part we're going to close them. So when you're going to close them, you've got to be prepared to close them. Remember, you've got to earn it. Same thing. So you got to be prepared to close them. So have your information so you can literally show them that you came prepared. And then all your collateral that you're bringing with you, if it's, hey, we do this better than anybody else, yada, yada, you already know their hot buttons and you should know their motivation. So the first thing I do is I reinforce the motivation. Motivation typically is going to have their pain associated to it. So when you learn basic sales training, right, motivation is the number one key to the whole thing. You've got to know their motivation. Why do they want to move? What's driving them, right? And then get your thumb on there and push it, but you're asking them. You're not telling them anything. A lot of times I used to go in and I used to even teach, telling them, reinforcing what they told you. Well, you told me this and you told me that, so therefore it means this, or we're going to do that. Well, you just took control and you're telling them. So I had a good teacher, a mentor teach me, stop talking at them and talk to them.
Yeah, and talk where they're at. Absolutely, 100%. It
took a while for me to grasp that. I struggled with that the most. And
it's
once
hard.
I got that, it is hard. Once I got that, it changed everything. So then when you ask them, okay, when we spoke, if I heard you right, you were talking about this. Tell me about that again. Let them get right into their pain mode, and I mean now, right? Because that's the most painful thing. They came with a preset of what you're going to do or not do when you got there, so they're already thinking something else. Get them where you want them. Remember, you've got your script. They don't. So don't expect them to follow it until you put them on your page, right? So the first thing I asked them is to reinforce what that motivation was. And if they need a little help, I remind them of a few things they might have mentioned to me.
Right.
Something around like this. Oh my God, yes, that is the crazy, and let them go, right?
Have that. So, I think we always talk about the importance of that in a couple scenarios. One, especially hitting right here on this hot button, it's either going to be a financial or an emotional impact if they don't accomplish what it is they're wanting to accomplish. Always. And boom, you can hit on that, right? The financial impact if they don't sell this home or get into this new home, What's the emotional if they're not able to make that move, right? Really tie them to it. But one of the things that, thinking ahead is that you want to hold on to this, because we always joke, especially with sellers. They have selective amnesia when they get an offer. And so if you've done your work and you've documented their pain points, their motivation, what it is that they would be willing to do, like you said, in the perfect world, wave the magic wand, you can reel them back in when they go off in la la land. You're able to come back and say, wait, hold on, let's review our initial goal, and you reel them back into reality. But if you don't document it, you don't have it, then you're not going to be able to reel them back in. So that's one of the things that we always really hit on, more so from a negotiation standpoint.
For sure.
To really be able to reel them back in.
Yeah, when they bunny trail on me like that, one of the first things I do is, it's really kind of where you were going. Like you said, it's more on the negotiation stage. But what I ask them is when they go off someplace, especially if they hit you with something that they never shared with you before, or that really gets you kind of off guard, if you will, or they throw something at you, and you're not even sure how to react to that or what that even means. One, if you're confident enough, you should say just straight up, you know what, that's really interesting. Tell me more about that. And get them giving you more information, because you don't know where to go with it yet, because you're not even sure what the heck they're talking about. So, and they want you to believe they want to believe that you do. So it's important for them that you do understand them. Therefore, ask them, help me better understand that. Give me a little bit more. Maybe you can tell me a little more about that. This is really interesting. I'd like to know more. And then if you still can't grasp it, or they really start driving that way, and now you're kind of going left here when you thought you were going to go right.
Yeah.
Time. What I like to do is I like to ask them the kind of either or, because either or is going to get you where you want to be, right? Just like anything else, right? You want to isolate the objection. Well, in this case, what we've got to do is find out which path are we going, the left one or the right one. So the way I would ask them and approach them on it, I would say, well, let me ask you an honest question. This is really interesting to me, and I think that this is obviously very valid. They want you to validate whatever their concern, thought, feeling, or expression is, right? Remember, it's always emotional. So you want to make sure that you're validating it to them, but then ask them, well, when we spoke earlier, these are some of the things that you were telling me that were motivating you as well. Which one is more important if you had to rank them 1 and 2? Which one's more important? And whatever one they go with is where their head is.
Yep.
If they were just bunny trailing, great. You got them back to where you wanted them, back to we take them down that path. That's easy. You came prepared for that. It's a later. If they stay the other side, you need more information, because you're now going, okay, you may have what you need with you, and that's fine. But now you got to really understand, okay, the motivation used to be this, and all of a sudden it changed. And you got to find out what changed. What changed
right.
2 days ago when we spoke. Right?
Yeah, and I think a good rule to remember is that most people don't know how to communicate. So when you're sitting with them, just because you have the knowledge, you can never assume, right? So it's, never assume intelligence for another human being. So we can never assume that they know, right? And like I said, most people just don't understand how to communicate at all. So sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper and clarify what they're saying, and making sure that you guys are all speaking the same language.
Sure. I'm a talker, right? So, and most of us in our business, we're good talkers. So we communicate typically pretty well, or at least we like to think we do. So, but we talk a lot. And what happens is agents, including myself, you get caught up in talking. You're talking so long, right? And I talk in stories. So I give examples in stories because they're truthful and there's something that they can relate to. And it tends to work good for me, but sometimes they go long. And when you do that, you lose sight of them, or they get lost in it for a moment. So one of the reasons, what I said at the beginning, is you don't tell them anything. You only ask. What it does is it keeps your talking short, keeps their talking long, gets them giving you more information. Therefore, they're settled into it. So once we've got that commitment that we're going for now, right? They don't have to be resold again later on going, oh my God, did I make a hasty decision? They're so solid in their decision because it was their decision, not your decision.
100%.
We artificially inflate them, get them excited about something. They say yes. It's like timeshares. And then they go home and go, what the heck did I do? Right? And you can't have to go back and resell them over and over and over about you. So that's your opportunity to make sure it's solidified. Asking the questions allows them to take it down their path. So it was their decision, clearly not yours.
there's some definite, some good lessons right there. I mean, the 2 ears, one mouth, for a reason, kind of principle. It's also a great leadership principle too, right? When you're communicating with your people, is that, you're really in the question asking business. You're not really in the telling business. And that's really just the same principle that carries over in whatever we do. So
Sure.
I love that. I'm glad you brought that up and shared that with everybody.
Yeah, no problem. I think kind of one of the things at the very beginning when we were talking about, that I find interesting too in the numbers, and I guess I'm kind of circling back at the beginning, but one of the things I wanted to make sure with my notes was I get a lot of people that say, how many calls do I have to make to get a good lead, right? To get one deal. And really the way it plays out, it turns out to be 2 deals. And what I mean by that is what we find is, and we've studied this so many times, it takes 336 outbound calls, usually with dialers or whatever have you, 336 calls to get 30 to 35 people to answer. Now you can say, okay, the ratio, right, the 10% rule, it's really not, because if you only do 100, you don't necessarily get 10. Now you could do 100 and get 15, but the next 200 will only net you another 15, right? So this is what happens, and we've done it so many times, and these are the numbers. 336 calls, outbound calls, will get you 30 to 35 people that at least answer. So you've made a contact on the phone they picked up. Out of those 30 to 35, we get anywhere from 12 to 18 who actually don't tell us bug off, go away, whatever. So 12 to 18 actually engage in a conversation. Doesn't mean that they're all ready to, and willing to buy a house, right? Because you got ready, willing, able. Able's the most important one. A whole lot of people are willing and ready, but they're not able to. So we gotta get those out of the mix in a hurry. But out of those 12 to 18, what you'll get is you'll get 4 that will engage with you right away to either set up an appointment for you to come about potentially listing their house, or that will engage with you to go out and look at houses actively right away. And you should close 50% of those, which means 2 of those 4 should either list and sell with you. And typically if they're selling, what do we have? A potential buyer. And it usually works out that way. But at the same time, you're going to get 2 deals out of that. So if you really are diligent about it, you'll get 2 deals out of it. Now those 2 deals might take you weeks to find them the right house and so on and so on, or you get the listing and it takes, 14, 27, 30 days, whatever it is on the market to get it sold. If it's priced right, you'll get it done right away. That's a whole nother show for another day of pricing and how to get people to price right. But that's what we find. And I can guarantee every one of my agents 2 deals a month if they'll do that.
I love that. And, we used to always say, man, I got to set however many appointments or get how many deals. And they would ask us that question. And I mean, it's right or wrong. We would just say as many as it takes, right? That was always
right. As
many as it takes, man. Get on the damn phone, make the calls, have some conversations. What are you doing? Let's go.
Right. I say to the agents like you're talking about, Curt, what are you doing? I got nothing. Great. Get over here and sit on the phone. Well, how long are we going to call for? Until we get someone. That's the first call. Until they say it takes. Okay? Until somebody says yes.
That's awesome. So just kind of looking at, from that, anything context wise that you're definitely putting into, discipline and consistency, right? That's the key. What is it for you that, you see those that are like really crushing it for you guys in the office? Like, what are some of the disciplines? What are they doing the most consistent? Is it specific routines? What's their week look like? What's the ideal structure? Because as we know, as real estate agents, we get a couple deals, we get those 4 right away. We abandon everything else, and then we get on the roller coaster. Yeah. So what are some of the best practices that you've seen from the most successful that you guys really mentor, coach, lead?
It's become, and again, learned this actually more recent. John Cheplack is our coach that we have right now, Mark and myself. And what he really instilled in us a year ago was commitment and accountability. So the answer to your question is the agents who are killing it, and I mean the ones that are doing anywhere from 8 to 10, 12, 15 right now. It's obviously the busiest time. So they're doing, upwards of, 12, 15 deals a month right now. Over the course of the year, they'll all do over 100. So we've got probably 4, maybe 5 that'll hit the 100 mark. So they'll do at least 100 transactions on our team, which is really cool. But The difference that sets them apart, they make the commitment and then they're held accountable to it. So all I have to do as a coach, as their leader, is hold them accountable to what they told me they committed to. So it's like a client. It's not my commitment, it's theirs, right? And it has to be theirs. So they make the commitment. Now, what the ones who succeed, to really answer your question, they're in the office, going at it most days. They're on the phones every day. So they're doing their follow-ups, they're doing their new calls. So what they do is they start off their day, if it's an hour, some of them it's 2 hours, and they dedicate that to outbound calls. They're making new calls, new prospects. So they have those. Then they spend the next time block, if it's 1 or 2 hours, and it's all their follow-ups. So they're constantly following up all the time because the money's made in the follow-up. It's not in the new calls. You have to, so you don't get the roller coaster, right? But
yeah.
it's all about their consistency of the commitment, and then they want to be held accountable to it. So we track everything, so I can see how many calls they actually made, how many people they actually talked to, how long the calls were, and if they use the house phones in the office, it records all their calls, so they can send me any call anytime. And on my drive to work and home from work, I listen to their calls when they send them to me. So they'll say, hey, Curt, pull call off extension 1042, and I made a call at 1107. Listen to that call for me. And sometimes they're just showing off that they really had a great battle and they got it. Other times I didn't get it. Why didn't I get this? I said everything right. Send it to me. Let me hear it. And then I can coach them through that. And that changes everything because the good agents who really want it, they want constructive criticism. I teach them all. We know why you won when you win. You got to know why you lost when you lose. And that's the difference. So my top agents know why they lose when they lose. The other ones haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, it's autopsy on the situation, right? There's a reason that professional athletes watch game film, right? That's just how you improve and how you get better.
Yeah.
And so listening to those autopsy calls, going back and listening to the calls, we always pull for, hey, give me a home run and give me a train wreck, right? And the train wreck is the ones where you learn the most from.
Sure.
But sometimes even the ones they win, they shouldn't have won, right? We just want to make sure they're not getting rewarded for bad behavior. And so listening to those calls, guys, if you guys have team members, record them. I remember, Jay's first coach, he was battling back and forth. This is the tape recorder days, right? Hooked to the phone, tape recorder days.
Tape recorder days.
And,
I'm old enough to remember those days.
And so he was like, man, yeah, I'm just not having success. My conversions aren't there. And, It's always, hey, are you following the script? He's like, hell yeah, I'm following the script. He's like, all right, send me record a few calls and send me a tape, right? So like think about that, right? As a coach, being able to mail that tape. And it's sure enough, man, you go back and you listen to it and you're like, man, yeah, I got off track there. I didn't say that there.
Happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
We do the same.
Yep.
I listen to my own sometimes going, why did I say that? Or how did I miss that?
Yeah, that's the big one. That's a big one. You talked about the commitment and accountability, and I know Albie works with Chep as well. So we did an episode. I think it's episode 28 on those accountability groups, to where he really breaks it down and what they've done with it. They've had great success. I know we had Trisha Turner on Expert Mentors a couple weeks ago, and that was a game changer for her organization. I mean, she's got 40, 50 agents in the office, and, the traditional of, one-to-one and one-on-ones and holding them accountable, meeting with them, man, you just run out of daylight. And so she put that in place and just like opened up, her whole organization, but made her organization that much more efficient. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool.
Game changers, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the, anything else from an objection standpoint, things that you see on a consistent basis that would be just of good value of touching on?
From setting appointments or actually at the appointment?
Both.
Okay, cheater. Yeah, I think the biggest objection I get when people are calling is they'll call, and it goes back to those numbers I gave you. They'll call and they'll get 7, 8 people to answer, and nobody's interested in even having a conversation with them. They get very discouraged right away. And all of a sudden their phone weighs 300 pounds. They can't pick it up anymore. It's like, look, continually go. You need to go 336. So I try to get them visually looking at the number 336. And if they can get to that, they'll have those conversations and then they'll have the opportunities. And that's really what I try to make sure that they do. So the objection I get on that is, well, I call and nobody will talk to me. I can't set any appointments. And then I ask them all the basics, right? Okay, you committed to making 336 calls. Did you? No. You committed to recording these ones that you had the battles and sending them to me. Did you send me any of those? No. Right? So remember, it's about giving them, good coaching without giving, how's it go? You have to ask them the question that they know the answer to that's not the right answer, but you have to do it without condemning them and without, coming down on them. So you can't use it against them, but that's the commitment, accountability. So it's okay, great. I want to help you and I think you'll have the success. When are you ready to do the numbers that you committed to? When you're ready for that, I'll be able to ready to show you how these are going to work for you. It's kind of doing it that way. So that's, it's softening the doing this like dad, my nickname in here is either coach or dad. So but that's what I get. But awesome. Coach is better than dad.
I like coach better than
yeah. When I get that look like, really, and then they're like, oh, come on, dad. You're like, stop. Yeah. Coaching is the commitment level for the accountability. But when you're out with a client, the biggest thing that's always, when you're selling, the biggest thing is always the price. That's right. It's the price or commission. It's the only two things that's stopping them from working with you to list their house. That's the only thing that they care about. And that's another reason somebody might go FSBO, right? For sale by owners, because they want to save a commission. They're not doing it because they hate real estate agents top to bottom. They're doing it because they don't think you have any value, or they're doing it because they just want to flat out save the money. And maybe they're in a tight, I can get this and I owe that, so I can only get this and I need that to buy my house. Whatever it is, all you have to do is show the value in yourself. And if you can do that, then they're going to work with you, which we know. How do you do that, right? It's like the adage, go work smarter, not harder. Well, great. How do I do that? Where are the directions to that?
Right. Right.
It gives you the directions. And I kind of jokingly hold up money and go, who knows the directions to how to use this? Right? We add water and it just grows. No, it doesn't, right? You got to do the right things with it. So it's the same thing with your client. You've got to say the right things. You've got to ask the right questions in order to do that. So if we frame it, knowing they're really only the two things that they care about. One is how much can you sell my house for? And two, how much do I have to pay you in commission? That's right. They not necessarily are both always in play. It's one or the other. Sometimes it's both, but it's usually one or the other. So when you ask them, hey, would you pay me $1 million to sell your house if I could get you the number you want? They typically go, well, of course. Okay, great. Then the question would be, what price should your house really sell for? If you were going to win the lotto because you picked the right one, I got this from one of our guys, which actually was a pretty good line. He says, if you got $1 million for guessing the right number, what's the exact number your house will sell for? If you got $1 million for picking that number, what would it sell for? And they usually tell you a price that's probably pretty darn close to what it really should sell for. Yeah. Not this pie in the sky number that they wanted to tell you. I want $399. Well, it's going to sell for about $375, right? Yeah. Okay, so where should we price it? $399 to get no one to see it? Or should we price it at $369 and get everyone to see it and push the price up, maybe get $379?
Right.
Which one's better for you? And when you frame it to them and ask them, it's not about me picking a number anymore, right? Hell, I can show you the comps, I can show you this and show you that. Who cares? What do you really want? Well, I want $399. Okay, what would it really sell for? But if you frame it in a way that if you had $1 million, if you guess the right answer, they're going to give you the right answer.
That's right.
So that works out pretty good, believe it or not. It's silly and it's cheesy, but it really works. Sometimes cheese sells. So if you frame it right, you're going to get the information you want. On the flip side, if somebody says to me, well, what are you going to charge me in commissions? And usually if that's their issue, they ask you that like right out of the gate. Hey, how are you doing? Right, how much are you going to charge me? I'm like, wow. He said, I don't know if I can even sell your house yet. Let's get to that first. But we can always, the commission is negotiable. I can always agree on a commission. Now we can start at
100%. I'm glad you said that. That's where a lot of people get tripped up. Man, it's flexible.
Yeah.
When we get together.
Yeah. Maybe it's 8 or 9%. Maybe it's 10%. I don't know. What? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's 1%. Hell, I don't know. Can I even sell your house? Let's figure out if we're a good fit. Let's see if I can sell your house first, because I may not take this listing.
Yeah.
And they go, what?
Yep.
You may not take the listing. Yeah. No. I mean, I'm not going to take a house to waste my time, waste my signs, waste my money, waste my marketing Because you got to remember, I'm about 2,500 deep the second I put a sign in your front house, get my pictures, get my live videos, get my streaming, get my drones. Once I do all this, I'm out a couple grand. So before I'm going to take your house on a listing, I want to make sure that I know for a fact we're going to sell it.
We'll be able to sell it. Yep, yeah. That we're a good fit. I think another good reminder for everybody, that especially sellers, right? Figuring out their whole goal, where are they going? What's the objective? And like, if you've got to be a little tight and adjust commission on the sell, maybe you can pick it up on their buy. And sure. The math is still the math, right? You're still having a substantial payday for what you're doing. You just got to be a little more creative with it. And I think a lot of people get tripped up with that as well.
Yeah. One of some of the best agents I've ever seen, they stay right here. They don't get all here and down here. They match their client, they mirror them, whatever that is, and they stay there. So when they ask them a question that's uncomfortable, well, you're not going to try to charge me that 6%, are you? I've had people come in here for 4. And then they go, well, and they start defending their position. They haven't even told them their position yet.
Yeah.
Don't defend a position you haven't even established, right? Answer the question. Oh, commission? Whatever. We'll figure that out. Let's make sure we can sell your house first, right?
Yeah.
Commission's irrelevant. If I made $1 million, I made $10, you don't care. You don't really care what I make. You care what you get, right?
Right.
And then when you say that, it takes all their steam away. That's all you're looking for. It doesn't mean you resolved the issue yet, but you certainly made it a non-issue to where they know you're not afraid of the commission. If they think you're afraid of it, they'll sniff that out. It's like blood in the water with sharks. They're going to smell it. They're going to know it. And
then they're going to shut down, and they're not going to listen to anything that you tell them what you can do.
They only care about the money at that point. Yeah,
absolutely.
Your own nightmare because you didn't ask questions. You started answering them. Always answer a question with a question.
Fantastic. Curt, is there anything, to really bring this all together that we want to leave everybody with, to close out this episode?
Sure. I would end with, if you're an agent, your business for yourself, even if you're in business by yourself or if you're not, you have to commit to you. If you're not committed to you, you're not going to have success. You're going to get the same commitment back to the person that's committing to you, which is you. If you're not looking in the mirror saying, we're going to win today because we have a great game plan, because we're committed and we're going to be held accountable to that commitment. If we're not committing to anything, we're not going to gain anything. So you have to really be diligent saying, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm going to win. Get your vision boards out, right? Do all the things. If I said, here's the 10 steps that it takes to have success, would you do them? And if the answer is you'd only do 7 or 8 of them, then you're not going to have success. Shame on you.
Not all in.
Right?
I'm not all in.
My best advice is, here's what it takes to succeed. Commit to doing those and then actually do them. Hold yourself accountable. Make a chart, right? It's the Floyd Wickman, right? Wickman always did the chart of your time block. Do for the last week. Put it up, highlight everything in green where the times that you were literally working in your business. Highlight in red every time you were on personal time doing whatever you did, sleeping, whatever. And then do the yellow where you're working on the business but not in the business.
Yeah.
And then stand back across the room and look at that chart. And when most of it's red, you'll have your own answer. You're your own nightmare, your own worst enemy. So that is green and yellow. Now you're having success, and you'll see your pocketbook match that. It always
calendar tells the story, man. It absolutely does. That's a phenomenal exercise, man. Appreciate you, Curt, man. Amazing call. Thank you for adding value and really being a true expert mentor and helping everybody out today. For all of you guys listening in, checking us out on Facebook or coming back to the replay, man, we appreciate you. Please share kind of what your biggest takeaway was, and always make sure to give some love to Curt, and feel free to reach out. Love to connect with you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.
John, thanks for having me. You're a stud. Anybody that watches you knows what they're doing. You're amazing. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, buddy.